I tend to agree with what Azhar said, that the laws has to be fundamentally aligned with some of the standards, but obviously none of the laws currently in any of the neighboring or major leading countries, for example, take Singapore, which is in the top 5 countries, have based their frameworks and laws. Although they are following industrial standards, but the laws are slightly different. But I'll try to explain the difference between the two. So here's a run through between the different cybercrime laws in Pakistan. They called cyber very recently because the latest one was based on the PICA, but the term which we normally foundation our laws is electronic crime laws. The first one is 1985 Telegraph Act, which is still relevant. There's a 1933 Act, then the 1957 Act, and some of the rules and regulations. Then we have the FIA Act, the Telecom Act, and the ETO, and some of the regulations which were followed in the subsequent years. So I'll just quickly go through the timeline and some of the gaps. And then the most recent one was the citizen protection rules notified this year for the platform or the content provider regulation. PICA being the fundamental one, which has been enforced for a couple of years now. It has its rules in 2018 as well. And some of the other provisions, which are especially from the ETO from year 2002, are still very, very relevant. We have some of the sections जो कि इसको देखते हैं, जिसमें से for example fair trial investigation में कुछ ऐसे sections हैं जो कि electronic जो transactions हैं या electronic activities हैं जो cyber domain में है, चाहे वो basically we are dealing the data in 3 different domains. One is the data in transit, one is the data while it's in process, and while it's in the rest. So some of the laws basically, some of the regulation address partially while the data in transit, and some of them are basically the data which is kept at the rest. So fair trial में भी ऐसा ही है, जो पीका है उसमें भी कुछ तरह की बाइफिकेशन नहीं की गई कि कौन सा लॉ, कौन सा सेक्शन जो है वो किस तरह से अप्लाई होगा, बट उसका थोड़ा सा एक ब्रेकडाउन हमने पीका का आगे प्रेजेंट किया. बट दिस इज व्हाट आई कुड कलेक्ट इन लास्ट कपल ऑफ डेज के, और इससे पहले भी हमने कुछ काम किया था. और ये इसके अलावा भी कुछ लॉज हैं, जो रूल्स हैं या रेगुलेशंस हैं जो कि साइबर क्राइम के या इलेक्ट्रॉनिक क्राइम के एस्पेक्ट में अप्लाई हो रहे हैं बेस्ड ऑन देयर एप्लीकेशन. जो इनकी कलर कोडिंग इज बेस्ड ऑन द लॉ, आइदर दैट इज अ लॉ और रूल और रेगुलेशन बाय द कंसर्न अथॉरिटी. और फिर कुछ ऐसे हैं जिस तरह से फॉर एग्जांपल मनी लॉन्ड्रिंग के हैं या ई कॉमर्स के. ऑब्वियसली बहुत सारी चीजें ऐसी हैं जो कि इलेक्ट्रॉनिक ट्रांजैक्शंस पे अप्लाई हो रही है, बट जैसा मैंने बताया कि फेयर ट्रायल के या मनी लॉन्ड्रिंग के सारे सेक्शंस इलेक्ट्रॉनिक डेटा को या डेटा इन ट्रांजिट को या इंफॉर्मेशन सिक्योरिटी या साइबर सिक्योरिटी को एड्रेस नहीं करते, बट सम ऑफ द सेक्शंस आर वेरी वेरी रेलेवेंट. I've got a couple of examples for that. So this is a breakdown of the PICA. In fact, ये 5 major areas में है. For example, एक area है जिसमें unauthorized access, copy transmission of the information system or data है. Second is the the advanced techniques which involves around offenses against different hardwares या access या malicious या intent के जरिए है. फिर techniques for deception है. फिर crime against individuals है. That is section 20, 21, 22 and 24. And then crime against group or community or nation at large, and that is section 9, 10, 11 and 12. तो इसके अलावा जो बाकी सेक्शंस हैं दे आर ये ब्रेक डाउन मुझे मिला था लास्ट टाइम हमने किया था. ये काफी पुराना डेटा, बट आई एम श्योर it has been tilted towards more into the platform side than the domestic crime. तो एक जो मुझे एक बहुत रेलेवेंट सेक्शन है दैट इज 2002 के ETO का सेक्शन 5 and 6, जो कि अभी मैं फॉर एज एन एग्जांपल लेके आया हूँ कि हाउ दीज आर रेलेवेंट इन द इंफॉर्मेशन गवर्नेंस डोमेन एज वेल. चाहे उसको हम कॉन्टेक्स्ट देखें लॉ के हिसाब से या उसको हम फ्रेमवर्क के कॉन्टेक्स्ट में देखें, because it binds के जो भी इंफॉर्मेशन ओनर होगा it will basically have it will retain the data and some of the properties of the data for a certain time. So we have to yet to see कि इसकी enforcement body PTA है या MYT है या FIA है, but this applies apparently on all the information system owners across Pakistan that is run, managed in the public sector or in the private sector. Same is the section 6, which basically refines the requirements for the data retention and how much time it should be there. अभी जो recent draft है data protection का, it basically supersedes all of that. इन सारे sections को वो supersede कर रहा है और उसको और they have not defined any alternate period or mechanism against these sections in the Data Protection Act. So these are the gaps. तो ये कुछ वेग सी यहाँ पे हमारे पास चीजें हैं जो कि डिफरेंट लॉज में या डिफरेंट रूल्स में, रेगुलेशंस में एग्जिस्ट करती हैं, और उसकी जो एग्जीक्यूशन बॉडीज हैं वो भी डिफरेंट हैं. Some are with the FIA and R3Cs. Most of them is with MOIT. And it's what are the challenges if we want to see the gap? So there are two benchmarks we can see. One is the Budapest Convention on cybercrimes. They have their draft laws and they have their basic definitions. So I've tried to check all the definitions by definition and by section. We are covering a lot of it, but बहुत सारी चीजें ऐसी हैं जो कि इसमें कवर शायद नहीं हो रही, या फिर होनी चाहिए थी, या फिर वो डेटा प्रोटेक्शन में आ सकती हैं. अदर इज यूनाइटेड नेशन इनिशिएटिव ऑन ड्रग्स एंड क्राइम. उसका एक फ्रेमवर्क एग्जिस्ट करता है, उनके भी लॉज एग्जिस्ट कर रहे हैं, ड्राफ्ट लॉज एग्जिस्ट कर रहे हैं, और उन्होंने भी relevant sections दिए हैं how the nation should be basically dealing the cyber crimes and what would the bank. Other challenges in this domain is basically the human resource, not specifically for the enforcement bodies, but all the stakeholders, which include the lawyers and the judges and the information assets owners and their managers. You know, everyone who's basically dealing and owning or operating the digital assets. Because जब ये चीज लिटिगेशन में जाती है तो फिर पता चलता है कि जी डेटा या तो स्टोर ही नहीं किया गया था, या उसको कोई बेंचमार्क नहीं था, सीसीटीवी फुटेज लीक हुई है तो देयर इज उसका कोई ना तो एसओपी एग्जिस्ट करता है, ना कोई रूल एग्जिस्ट करता है, ना रेगुलेशन है, ना कोई पॉलिसी. सो you know, onboarding of all the stakeholders is very, very important, especially when it goes to the criminal side or the crime side, in fact. And then most importantly, digital evidence readiness is very, very critical if we look into the cyber crimes domain. Currently, the sections which deal with Section 32 of the PICA and Section 5 and 6 of EPO, which are basically concerning these things. So this is a brief overview of my take on the cyber crimes, which we currently have. Because as I said, we have a limited time, 3-4 minutes. So the other section is basically the frameworks. So this is one of the framework we have translated NIST for KP. This is based on my experiences, which we did in province. Although we could not deliver or we could not operate all of these components in KP because of the missing laws or regulations in KP. Because शायद हम जब compliance और governance की तरफ जाते हैं तो there is no supporting law in the province, in fact, to basically empower a provincial cert to have a active detection or proactive strategies for the information assets. What we tried to basically customize NIST. There could be other as well. There could be a lot of frameworks. For example, अगर हम अगर हम ITU के benchmarks को देखें तो these are the 5 areas. इसके सब areas हैं, तो अगर हम सिर्फ इन्हीं को map शुरू कर दें तो we can devise our own national framework which basically reflects. So I have a copy for that, which we did recently. So these are the baseline capabilities. These would be mapping against the ones which are required by the ITU. So if we tend to have a capacity building around these pillars, so we can guarantee or we can hope that we'll be, जो हम currently 2018 की ranking के मुताबिक हम 94th number पे हैं, we can basically move into top 20 or 30 hopefully. So this is what, and अगर उसको component wise divide करें तो this is another view of that, the same thing. अच्छा. Lastly, which I want to basically talk is about data colonization. This is one of the major challenges जो कि शायद currently जो कि laws में भी cover नहीं हो रहे और frameworks में भी cover नहीं हो रहे, and this is what I think nation should be worried about in the coming decade, because there is a great percentage, over 90% of the national data, of the citizens' data is cross-border, and we cannot basically put a stop to it, but we have to come up with a framework, because जब आप क्राइम की बात करेंगे तो क्या वो डेटा नेशनल बाउंड्रीज के अंदर अप्लाई कर रहा है, क्या वो जो डेटा कंट्रोलर है या प्रोसेसर है उसके ऊपर कोई लोकल लॉज अप्लाई हो रहे हैं कि नहीं हो रहे. सो दीज आर द रेलेवेंट क्वेश्चंस. सो स्टेट बैंक या बैंकिंग का डेटा तो हो सकता है वो नेशनल बाउंड्रीज में लाया कर रहा हो. व्हाट अबाउट द अदर डेटा व्हिच इज ऑन द XYZ प्लेटफॉर्म्स जो कि ना तो नेशनल लॉज में समहाउ ऐड हो रहे हैं, या उन पे apply हो रहा है या they are answerable to local laws. So challenges for the countering of data colonization is not about blocking the cross-border data. It is not about stopping or intruding to the private or the sensitive data. It is not about interrupting innovation in the tech industry. So we have to come up with the equally balanced framework which can basically ensure that the information asset or the data asset, which is the fundamental pillar in this whole domain, is secure, is in the national framework, and the nation has enough capacity building discussing based on the previous discussion jo ke inhone kaha ki state bank we should have a lot more cloud providers and infrastructure providers. So as a nation, if we don't have the capacity to retain, process and hold the data, that is a fundamental जिस तरह से अगर physical domain में अगर हम बात करें तो if a person army is जब उसके पास physical arms nahi honge, he won't be able to fight. So same as the cyber domain, if you don't have the data centers and the infrastructure supporting this whole framework, it would be meaningless. So these are the challenges. In fact, jo bhi naya framework hoga, it has to basically balance out everything. And these are the issues which I think will be required to be addressed.
Thank you very much, sir.